Hello, everyone. It's the third week of the semester. So after last week's craziness with the holiday on Monday, making it a short week to begin with, and then a snow day, which really should not have affected any of you since we're an online class, but I'm sure if you have other classes that are on campus, probably affected you there. We get back to a sense of normality this week, so that'll be a good thing. And the good news is we're going to talk about the French Revolution this week. So here's what you need to know about that. I know you're asking the question, why would a British literature class study the French Revolution? But the fact is, the French Revolution, even though it occurred in France, was really a European-wide phenomenon because everybody was watching what was going on in France. So read the book reading, the Introduction to the French Revolution. Look at the slideshow. It'll help you with the quiz. Study up on what the French Revolution was by doing a Google search and seeing all of the events that occurred, starting with the storming of the Bastille in 1789, July 14th, 1789, and working its way through the Reign of Terror, among other things, up until Napoleon would actually become a dictator. So it was really an impactful event. And a lot of British writers were looking closely at the French Revolution. In fact, there were debates. You're going to be introduced this week to something called pamphlets. Now, you're not going to read entire pamphlets because that would be too many pages. But your textbook does have, and this is why it's important to have the textbook, your textbook does have excerpts from pamphlets by Edmund Burke, who was pro-royalty and thought that the French Revolution was a travesty and thought that England had everything it needed. It did not need any changes. Versus two other authors who are Mary Wollstonecraft, and you'll see her again next week. She is the mother of Mary Shelley, and Thomas Paine. And if you're thinking, well, that's an American history author, you're right. It's the same Thomas Paine. But they were pro-people. They thought that the French Revolution was a good idea, and maybe England should consider overthrowing its king as well. So, especially since the king at the time was King George III. So, look closely and read closely these viewpoints, the pro-royalty against the anti-royalty viewpoints. In fact, Wollstonecraft and Paine will both be responding to Burke's pamphlet, which is why we read Burke first and then we read the two responses next. Now, that's not to say that after, Wollstonecraft and Paine tear into Burke, that Burke did not have his supporters. Burke had a lot of supporters. Burke had a lot of friends, but we're just seeing him versus two of the people that were against him. And then, of course, your research paper. I mean, not your research paper, your reader response. The reader response will have 2 to 3 well-developed paragraphs analyzing the opposing viewpoints. If you did a compare and contrast in English 1101, there's a good chance that this is going to be similar to that. You'll compare Burke to Wollstonecraft and Paine. And since it's about 3 paragraphs, I would say have a paragraph on Burke, have one on Wollstonecraft, have one on Paine. Burke's viewpoints versus Wollstonecraft's response versus Paine's response. The quiz for this week will also cover both the introductory material to the French Revolution and the 3 readings. So make sure you're familiar with all of those. Now, if you did the quiz last week by 7:30 or so on Sunday night, I've graded it. If you've waited till after 7:30 on Sunday night, I've not graded that quiz yet. But I will as soon as I can. As far as your reader responses, those take a little more time because those are written papers. Those are not just, answers that you short answer onto a quiz. So it'll take me a little bit of time to actually read those and get those grades to you. My goal is to do it by about midweek because I want you to see my comments and apply them to whatever you write next week for the French Revolution. I'll send you an email once I've got them all graded to remind you, hey, please look at these comments so that you'll know what you need to work on. So that's it for this week. Exciting times, French Revolution, a very tumultuous time in world history, and it did affect England, even though the main events occurred in France, and it certainly sparked debate in the country. And you get a chance to analyze that debate this week.